Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Film Lovers. We are back. This is another year. So it's gonna be, I guess, season 2 is what I'm gonna call it. And I'm here with the lovely
Leila Toba.
Yes, Leila and I have been hanging out a lot. We've been watching a few movies, so we decided to do a couple reviews of them. And so the first one we watched was Mayhem, and that one was pretty freaking crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
So, I guess we'll give a little bit of a background of it. It's basically, how would you describe it?
Well, it's sort of in the same vein as a zombie thriller. There's a lot of gore, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of excitement. It seems that there's been some kind of viral outbreak that causes people to behave off of their impulses. So like if they're having extreme like sexual feelings, they become surfaced, or their violent urges that they normally would suppress are just like uncontrollable. So essentially what happens is there are a group of lawyers in their practice, and their building gets quarantined, and everyone gets this virus. And so things get pretty exciting from there. And of course, the film is starring Steve Yeun. Is that his name?
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Who's from The Walking Dead, as you may or may not know, a very lovable character from there. And he definitely highlights a lot of his strengths as a fight choreographer, combat choreographer. He's definitely really in the game for this film. It's right up his alley.
And he sort of plays like the same similar role as The Walking Dead in a way, like the really nice guy who like wants kind of, who wants respect, wants all this, all this stuff. Like I felt like after I didn't really watch I'm not a really big Walking Dead fan. Don't attack me, people. Like I'm just not a huge Walking Dead fan because
yeah, I was when it started, and then I fell off after a few seasons.
That's what a lot of people say, and I tried it. Like the first time I watched the first like episode of Walking Dead, the pilot, I couldn't get into it. Right, the first time. Then people kept telling me you gotta watch it. So I got through like season 3 or 4. I'm not even sure which one I got through, but I just it felt like the same thing. Oh, they're trapped and they're dealing with zombies, and now there's just like drama in the whole group.
Right.
Like it just soap opera with zombies, which is great if you're into that.
Sure,
but
yeah.
just wasn't my thing. But I did like Steven in it, and I loved him. And it goes to show this was a movie that was his like standout performance. He was the main actor.
Yeah, he even had producing credits on it. So that's pretty exciting. It was really neat to be able to see him take sort of the center stage for once, instead of being an ensemble character like he is in Walking Dead.
Right. He actually got to play like a role, like a meaty role.
Right. And he has so much range as a performer, because he really does come off as like this very sweet, very gentle person, but when it's time to be like brutal and heroic, like he can really rise to the occasion. And he definitely didn't disappoint in this film at all whatsoever.
Nope. I thought he was wonderful. Samara Weaving, you might know from Ready or Not, or The Babysitter. She was wonderful.
Tremendous actress.
Yeah, she was wonderful in it. She had a presence to her, and it just became like a horror film, but like a horror film with a lot of action,
Yeah, and it's really funny because it's sort of hard to describe, because it's not quite a zombie outbreak, because everyone, I guess, becomes healed at some point, or just for some period of time they're affected by it, and they can only react impulsively to their surroundings, so it makes them dangerous, but it's not quite like they're eating each other's brains or anything like that. However, there is quite a lot of gore and violence in this one. So if you're squeamish and you don't like the blood, you don't like to see some pretty unique violence in some cases, this probably isn't a good film for you. However, if you do really enjoy like gore and violence from an artistic perspective, or even just because you like the adrenaline and a hell of a ride, then this is a great film for you.
I love the political aspect of it, really, because like throughout it, a lot of times they were trying to say like that they can get away with anything because of this virus, right? Absolutely. So if they did anything, they could all they could do was blame the virus, and it started with one person who had done that, like who had blamed the virus for his actions, and then he got,
Yeah, and that's actually what's interesting about Steven Yeun's character is that he plays this lawyer who was the one who presented this kind of loophole in the virus which justified a murder and got a person acquitted.
So how ironic it was for him to be the one to do that. That was just great,
Yeah. So there definitely is a lot of like really interesting kind of interwoven storylines that kind of all come to a head at the end of the film. But
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I really enjoyed it. It's actually a very good storyline. It's a very simple plot. It's not super intricate or anything like that to where you have to pay deep attention and detail to, but it's just enough story to be interesting, and the characters are really well developed. So they all play off of each other really well. The casting is superb. The acting is really great too. It definitely has a very high production quality. I wouldn't say that there's anything about this that would read low budget or B horror or anything like that at all whatsoever. It definitely is a very high quality product. It
definitely is, and I don't know exactly who it was produced by, but I know Joe Lynch, the director of it, is famous for doing like Wrong Turn 2 and a few other films, and Wrong Turn 2 is like one of my favorite sequels of a lot of these films. So Joe he's a phenomenal director, and he directs the shit out of this movie. Every cut, every scene.
Absolutely.
Of
the filmography is just beautiful.
I know.
There's even some pretty solid montages, so there's a cool soundtrack going on.
I know, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of really great elements coming together to make a very good film, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it.
I would say if you're into like, was it a horror action thriller kind of office stuff, that this would be like up your alley. I don't know.
Yeah, there is the kind of satisfactory factor that, you're in a corporate office, you hate your job, everything is going to hell, and then the kind of fantasy that you get to have about what happens when all bets are off and
you're able to kill your boss or
you
something.
You can kill your boss
and get
or
away
your
with
coworkers or the people that you really hate that you work with, and you've just lost your job.
But the beauty is like, okay, so normal people would think, oh, you could just go kill your boss and that'll be it, right?
Right.
But he like takes it to the next step to try to get them to admit that they're wrong in order to, before he would go and try and kill them or something, Like
right.
He wants to do the right thing. He doesn't just want to kill them and everything, because then nothing would happen,
And that's the really interesting thing about the way that the film is set up, is that the steps that he goes through to get to his goal. And it's really interesting without giving away the ending, but like the way that their building is set up is how he has to go to these different levels to eventually get to his boss. And it almost, watching it plays like a video game.
Yeah, you're saying
like to where you're
that.
almost going through like each level, and every time you get to a new level, there's like a different kind of boss that you have to fight or contend with in some way. And, there are a lot of really interesting and unique ways, tactics that he uses to get to the top of his goal. Whether he meets it or not, you'll have to watch the movie and find out.
Yes, so definitely watch the movie. We're recommending it. I guess we normally do like a 5-star scale. What would you give this movie?
Because I'm really reluctant to just flat out give something 5 stars, I'm going to go ahead and give it 4.5, which is still pretty high for me. It's definitely one of those films that is highly imaginative and has a dreamlike quality to it, so you're going to have a little bit of satire, behavior, and acting, which is a lot of fun. But the acting is so beautiful, and the overall product is so well executed that if you enjoy that kind of entertainment, then you definitely don't want to miss this one.
I would actually agree and go 4.5, because I think there might be a couple things that hold it back from being like a perfect film.
Let's talk about that.
Well, I would say maybe there's a couple scenes in the film that I felt kind of dragged the film down. Maybe I'm trying to remember exactly, because we watched this a few days ago, so it's been a little bit. But I think there were a couple times where it just didn't feel like the film like flowed really quickly, and then there were times where it went right into it. So I'm trying to remember exactly what. Do you have any like in your head that you thought that too, or am I crazy?
I mean, normally my gripes about films like this are that there are scenes that drag on too long, or that there are things that should have been taken out. Like maybe there's just too much of something. It's one of those moments where you like gotta kill the darlings. But I actually feel like the editing was beautiful, and there's, I wouldn't pick on any of it. As far as it, I'm not saying that I believe it to be a completely perfect product, but I still feel like a lot of what my normal like technical gripes would be, I definitely don't have with this one.
So for you, what does it stop from making it like a perfect film?
Well, that's a really good question. I think it's just like my reluctance overall to just automatically grant a 5-star rating, because I feel like something has to like absolutely hit every nail on the head. So, I mean, I guess if I had anything to say about it is that there are some like tropes that are in the movie that are just kind of common that we run into.
Right.
Like, the boy meets girl kind of thing, and sometimes I just think that can take away from the storyline or make it less interesting. And it also changes the motives of the character, and it makes you wonder what that person's true intentions are. Like, if they're changing and they're making those choices as a result of themselves, or if they're doing it to like appease or prove themselves to someone else. So, I mean, I guess when I like to see the metamorphosis of a character, I like to see it come from a place within,
right,
rather than being influenced by outer,
No, I totally agree. I think that might be also another thing with it, but I mean, I think it's honestly a 4.5. Like,
it's a solid 4.5.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's definitely, but it's near perfect. It's up there, really good. Like, it was wonderful.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you guys get a chance to see it, it's on Shudder. It's a Shudder exclusive.
And Shudder is free streaming, isn't that right?
No, it's
free?
$5 a month.
Okay.
However, I mean,
I think you can sign up for free trials, though.
probably a free trial, but if I were you, I would definitely check out Shudder like as it is, because it's definitely worth $5 a month.
Especially if you love horror and you can't get enough of it. Because I'm one of those people, I'm always like trying to find like what's the next scary movie I'm gonna watch, because I've seen so many of them and I have so many that like I'm really in love with, like original Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, of course, the classics. But I'm always looking for something new and exciting to watch, and that's kind of the fun thing about Shudder, is that it's all horror all the time. So you can just go there and find all kinds of stuff.
And she's glad I've got a Shudder account so we can watch this together.
He's got the Shudder account.
Yeah, so we can watch this together.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's the hope. That's the dream, is to be able to watch these movies anytime that you want. So we definitely recommend Shudder. We recommend this movie. Check it out, and let us know what you guys think. By the way, we are not paid by Shudder to say this.
No, we're not.
We wish we were.
You could pay us, Shudder.
Hey, Shudder, if you want, go ahead. I'll tweet at the main guy, the guy running it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys so much for checking this out. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of it, mini review. We're gonna be doing more mini reviews coming out. Me and her for sure.
Yeah,
because
thanks for
we're watching a lot of these movies now that I'm in LA.
Yeah.
Checking it out. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
Bye.
Bye.